Hey Belmont Eagles, here with me, Miss Vermont, once again to go through our walkthrough of our Virginia Studies Journal. This week we're going to be focusing on Colonial Virginia. Alright, so we're starting off with tobacco. Remember that it was sold to England as a cash crop, and a cash crop is something that is grown to sell for money. Virginia's economy depended on agriculture as a source of wealth, so meaning that Virginians made their money off of selling their crops, and slaves took care of the tobacco because they worked for cheap. Cultural landscape. Although it was a colony of England, Virginia developed a unique culture that was different from the culture of England. Usually, whenever people settle in areas, they bring their beliefs, customs, and architecture with them and change the existing culture. However, in Virginia, it was European immigrants, American Indians, and Africans who influenced the areas where they settled and left signs of their cultures. They influenced the culture and landscape of colonial Virginia to reflect their beliefs, customs, and architecture, which included barns, homes, and places of worship. The names of places also reflect the culture of the settlers who lived there. Richmond, the capital of Virginia, is an English name. It comes from Richmond on the Thames, a suburb of London. The city Roanoke, which is located in southwestern Virginia, is an American Indian name that means seashell or wampum. Alright, so taking a look here at the cultural landscape. Alright, the green here represents the Germans and Scot-Irish that settled in the area. You have the English that settled all through this area mostly, and then you also have the Africans that settled here, and we'll take a look as to why. Alright, so Germans and the Scotch-Irish, they settled primarily in the Shenandoah Valley along the migration route. So, this right here, and then you have this area down here. You have Africans who settled primarily in the Tidewater and Piedmont regions, and that is because these regions required a great deal of labor, because that's where they were growing a lot of their tobacco. And then you have the English, and they settled primarily in the Tidewater and Piedmont region, just like over here where it shows you. So, another thing that you have happening in colonial Virginia is that you have the capital that moves from Jamestown to Williamsburg. And the reasons for that was because Jamestown was never fully recovered from fire. It was a marshy location. The water was salty and dirty, and the unhealthy living conditions caused diseases. So Williamsburg was drier, and not only that, it was on higher ground, so it was going to be safe from water. All right. Colonial resources. Virginia settlers used natural, human, and capital resources for their food, clothing, and housing. So for food, the production of resources required tools. You have to have tools in order to garden. They used soil and water to grow crops. They hunted and fished. They ate local meats, fruits, and vegetables, produce that helped them make meals. So during this time, during colonial Virginia, you would not be able to eat bananas because bananas do not grow in Virginia, so you wouldn't be able to eat them. And workers produced the food. It took work. Clothing. Clothing was made from cotton, from wool, flax, and leather. People, mainly women, made the clothes, and of course they had to use tools to make them. Housing. Use people to help build houses. They don't just randomly pop out of nowhere. You have to have someone build them. Most people lived in a one-room house made of wood with dirt floors. Rich people lived in larger houses or plantations, and they used tools to build them. Everyday life in colonial Virginia. Virginians. Most were small farmers. Only a few Virginians owned large plantations. Others made their living as workers, such as blacksmiths and shoemakers. Native Americans, Indians worked beside them as farmers and craft workers. Women during colonial Virginia made clothes. They ran the farm household. They raised children, and they prepared meals, and they did all the laundry. Free African Americans. They owned property or businesses, but they were denied basic rights. So just because they were free, they didn't have the same rights as every other person. Enslaved African Americans. They worked on tobacco fields. They raised livestock. They washed clothes and cooked meals and cared for children on the plantations. And they had no rights under the law. All right. So a few vocabulary that I want to go over with you. The first one is a cash crop, and a cash crop is grown to sell for money rather than to be used by the growers. So tobacco was grown for the purpose of selling it to England to make money. Money is a medium of exchange. So right now we use paper bills and we use coins, and that's what we use to pay for things. Back then there was other things possibly that they used, such as gold. So bartering is trading or exchanging of goods and services without the use of money. So I don't know about Mrs. Olden's class or about Mrs. A's or Mrs. Santos's class, but for my class, I remember I had a painting and someone else had books, and so I wanted the books and the other person wanted the painting, and so we traded instead of using money to buy it off each other. Credit, buying a good or service now and paying for it later. So, for instance, if I needed to buy seeds to plant, but I didn't have the money, I would say to the person who owned the store, "Hey, let me have these seeds, and then once I grow my vegetables and pick them, I will bring you back the money that I've made from them to pay you." So a debt is a good or service owed to someone. And then savings is putting money away to save or to spend at a later time. All right, Belmont Eagles, thank you for watching. I hope this helps you in reviewing Virginia Studies for this week. Stay safe and stay healthy.